Beautiful.
Fire, dude.
Beautiful.
Fire.
Welcome back to another episode of On Tap. Today, we have the legend, Paul Harvey, finalist on the show, Second Chance on HBO, flute enthusiast, and most important, blue-collar ironworker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Skywalker in here.
Oh yeah, Skywalker.
Oh, unbelievable.
Get a little bit of that binary sunset with that drone flute. That's
Yeah.
All in, baby. I love it. You showed up with like 10 flutes today. I don't even know what's going on, but it's an absolute honor to have you here today.
Well, it's my honor to be here. I appreciate you guys coming out and getting a hold of me. It was kind of out of the blue, but I was like, hey, absolutely. I looked at your guys' show. It was
awesome, man, dude. Like so many questions, and just can't wait to pick everything apart, dude.
Well, I'm
awesome
an open book for you.
Yeah, this is actually a first. We've never found a guest off of Reddit, of all places.
Yay, win for Reddit.
It's not all bad. There's good stuff on
right,
there.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So you work as an ironworker, and are you primarily in the Midwest?
Yes. So I'm based out of Local 512 Ironworkers in Minneapolis, and they cover regions in Wisconsin, Minnesota, North and South Dakota. So
Decent amount of traveling.
yes, sir.
So I just want to kick it off right off the bat because honestly, I want to hear in your own words, what is an ironworker? Because I know a dozen people that have worked in the trade, and all I've ever known about it is that they work a lot of hours, make a lot of money, but that's all I know. So how could you sum up to a dum-dum like me, what is an ironworker?
Sky Cowboy.
I love that.
If I had to boil it down to one word, I mean, they're some people get a little offended at it, if you will, but they're the Marine Corps of the construction industry. These are some BA dudes and dudettes. I mean, they're a lot more. They're a lot smaller than a lot of the other trades, like the carpenters or the plumbers, or electricians, and so forth. A lot of the stuff that we do is skyscrapers, bridges, hospitals. I mean, you name it. If it's got ironworking, steel, welding, they're going to hit that up, and they're going to do a generally good job.
So essentially, it's just building the framework of these larger commercial buildings,
yes.
correct?
Yep. So specifically, the company I'm working for right now, they are a curtain wall company. So they put, if you've ever seen a skyscraper, the glass on the outside of that, most of these are unitized systems. So the glass is already installed, and we're welding on the anchors. We're doing the layout. We're rigging and flying things with the cranes. We get to play with the big toys,
Yeah,
so
that in itself, just the
makes a
rigging
lot of fun.
alone. Dude, there's so
Yeah.
many different, I went down the rabbit hole the other day of, so I was looking at some just for rigging trusses, nothing too crazy by any means, especially in comparison. What? But even just the different hooks and setups, and, you have different bars and lengths and jigs and everything.
It does. I mean, and that's every ironworker that goes through the apprenticeship program becomes a qualified rigger. And that's one of the biggest things that I've seen a lot is where people will be like, hey, we need a qualified rigger for this critical pick.
That's a tough one.
Right, try saying that 10 times fast.
But with Russian accent, yeah.
Do you guys have an apprenticeship in your trade?
Yes, so it's a 4-year apprenticeship program, starting out at 20. I think it's 65% journeyman scale.
Sure.
And then every 6 months there's a increase of 5%, and then basically when you get through that, it's a lot of two nights a week is usually where you're going to show up at the hall, do some book work, get some hands-on experience, and then you're also working during that same time. So you're gaining a lot more experience and on-the-job know-how, and then you get that stuff in the book start. And
so you can get hired directly from an outfit, and you do some hands-on work in schooling at the beginning, or do you have to do any full book work to get a job at any outfit?
Yeah, no. So the way the Ironworkers here is set up in Minnesota, you go to the union hall and you fill out an application to become an apprentice. And if you get accepted into the program, there's a little tests you have to take. Make sure you're not crazy,
Yeah.
too crazy. I mean, you got to be a little crazy to do this in 20
Just the
below.
right
but-
amount.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess speaking from my own personal experience, I got a call from the business agent. They have guys that are out there looking for people to join the trade. And he said, "Hey, this is what your old man did, and would you like to? This is the scale, and this is what we're doing." I was like, "That sounds a lot better than the $7.25 an hour I'm making bottling beer after I got, in the small town." And so he said, "I'll show up at the hall. This is the address. It's going to be $500, and we're going to do you a week-long boot camp type thing, just so you're not." A greenhorn.
Sure.
Trying to think of the PG-13 areas
Dude,
of things,
You can be whatever rate you want, man.
Got a reputation to uphold, don't swear too much at work, so I gotta
I
try
respect
to keep
it.
the kids, I mean, I got two young kids, but digressing from that. So I showed up, paid the money, and started. They had us within that first week doing our OSHA 10. Getting our lift certs, basically kind of making it so that you could go out onto a job site and not be an absolute greenhorn to where you're causing issues too bad. I mean, you obviously don't know much. I mean, especially in my case where I was coming from, never having been in the construction area of things.
That'd be intimidating.
It was pretty fun because there's one guy in particular. They have at the hall there. They have all sorts of stuff set up. Inside crane, different lifts, places to tie rebar, things for rigging. So he had us rigging different things, and he'd have a beam out there, and there'd be plates on one side, so it would be off balance, so you couldn't just rig it center. And if you didn't rig it quite right, and he'd come up and he'd go, he wouldn't give you any direction, but he'd just be,
That's a good way to go about
Absolutely.
it.
I don't know,
what
dude.
did I?
I grew up with a dad that would just scream at me all the time and with no direction. So sometimes a little direction
Dude, you
does
just gotta
go a
try it
long
out.
way.
Just get those hands a little rusty, dude.
Figure that.
Yeah.
But at the end of that week, I had a job placement. So the union hall will basically have a list of people, and then companies will call and say, "Hey, I need 30 ironworkers for a project that's going to be 2 months long." And so they'll say, "Okay, we got 30 guys here." Those guys go out and they work for that company. When the job's over, if they have more work or if they like you,
Yeah.
if you're a good worker, you can keep on with that company. That was when you go to buy a house or anything like that, they look at how many employers you've had, and you got 15 different companies. They're like, what are you doing here, bud? It's it's the trades, man. It depends on, the weather.
You go where the work goes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been with the same company for the past 4 and a half years.
That's gotta be nice though.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
Especially
I mean,
once you get settled in, you know everybody there, and
Yeah. And that's another thing with the community of ironworkers here. It's small enough where you've probably heard of almost everybody and or worked with most of them too. And that you find groups and teams that work really well together, and you can just knock things out,
Yeah, for sure. That's everything.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that because my dad and a bunch of my buddies work for a contracting company that does a lot of underground gas work. And there's a lot of companies that do underground gas work, or I guess there's a handful in the state, and everybody knows somebody from the other company because you get an opportunity here, you move here, it's the same work, just a different name. So I definitely can see how you can fall into just getting to know everyone. And like Travis, DPK, that was someone you said right when we reached out, oh yeah, I worked with him, I know him.
Yeah,
It's
with Travis. He's
just
a good
small
guy.
world, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because when I started looking up on Tap podcast, I was like, oh, hey, I know that guy. I was like, this is dope.
He's definitely our golden boy. I think he's the most reoccurring guest we've ever had.
Well, you can't ask for much better. I mean, I'll be honest. He's got the passion and the drive, and it's really neat to see how he's kind of exploded with all of the the DPK stuff, and just, man, the opportunities he's gotten. It's awesome to see as a tradesman,
Yeah.
a fellow ironworker stepping out and,
Well,
taking
especially
that
knowing
creativity.
him before he got any sort of recognition. Like you know a whole different version than we've ever
Yeah, you've
met.
seen both
you know?
sides.
Yeah.
That was one of the more interesting things about that, like kind of from like the initial inquiry or whatever. Is like that was a big genuine part on like dude, it's so cool seeing it as somebody in the trades with that creative side that like not very often you see that happen, and people being so open about it too. And like there's almost like a weird stigma in that, like, oh, like, the stereotypical like blue collar.
Oh, if you're gonna work blue collar, you got to chew tobacco and
right.
Hey,
There's
you
like this persona
Can't
of like
be an iron worker unless you've had 2 DWIs and at least
Right.
3 divorces. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure there's a lot of
I
divorce
have
on the
0
crew.
of those.
And that's
Oh,
the
dude,
union
definitely.
guys.
Yeah,
Imagine the
exactly,
non-union.
right?
Oof, rough. But yeah, no. So it's just really cool seeing that. Bias aside from falling under that same kind of identity or whatever. Like it's just cool seeing that, especially blow up in the community too, and like socially viral.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been an honor and a blessing to be able to. So like that's one of the things that with the instruments that I play, it lends itself to the portability of being on a job site or whatnot, and then also having access to these places that nobody else is. I mean, you're never gonna get some fancy pants that's
Right,
professional musician doing it on the 30th floor of a
Yeah.
still developed building.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah. And it's like just this weird kind of. It's almost like now, like if you were to go about it in a way that's like you want to promote solely this, it's like people have multiple interests. Like people are like multiple. We all wear a bunch of different hats. Like it doesn't have to fall under one thing. That's why it's like I love how everything about like even on your pages and stuff like Ironworker Flute. Like it's like just the two things. It's like, yeah, that's right. People can be multiple things, and that's fucking cool.
Guess what? I've sat on the side of a river on a mountain and played flute too, and the videos don't tend to get that many more views. I mean,
Right.
It is definitely it catches your attention when you scroll on the feed and see one of your videos pop up. And I want to take it back a little bit to becoming an ironworker. And you mentioned that your father was an ironworker. Growing up, seeing him work the trade, did that lean you towards it or did it lean you against it? And then ultimately, did you talk to him about your decision of joining the union?
Ooh, are we ready for this story?
Absolutely.
All right. So my dad has 9 other children. So I'm the third oldest of 10. Dad, as an ironworker, family man, in 2003 had 9 strokes. That's what took him out of ironworking.
Whoa.
Miraculous
year?
recovery. Yeah, in less than a week.
It's
Holy
terrible.
shit.
One right after the other. He went from, he had one it was like a Wednesday, and my timelines might be a little bit fuzzy. I was 13. But basically, he had the first stroke on a Wednesday while he was up working in Duluth as an ironworker. He'd been doing ironworking for probably like 20, 25 years. Came home because he thought it was just like nausea. He couldn't get out of the bed. And came home on that Thursday. Friday, him and I were pouring concrete with my uncle. He keeled over, had another stroke, and then recovered from that. Like it was just like temporary. So doctors thought that it was migraine, which, long story short, he goes to another hospital, and between Saturday and Sunday, he had 5 more and was in a vegetative state. He was in a coma. It was actually no brainwave activity, no response to pain, and they were pushing for my mom to just pull the plug and donate his organs.
Wow.
All within the span of 5 days.
All within the
4 or
span
5
of
days.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep.
So your whole family's life is flipped within a second.
Yes, I mean that before that, we had been as a family doing music. We could be here for hours and hours, but kind of cutting to the point where you had asked about the ironworking. As years went by, my dad's friends would talk and visit and whatnot, and I never really had a a drive for ironworking at first. I mean, I knew about it and knew kind of what it was, but I was able to. My dad never really pressured us to go follow his footsteps.
That's kind of cool though.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
it was very freeing in a way.
Yeah.
But
You don't feel obligated to
yeah.
uphold some kind of.
Well, like, carry on the traditions, son.
Right,
You know,
yep.
you
Make
hear
me
that a
proud.
lot. You know, right?
Yeah.
So I want to take your story back a second because we missed the uplifting part of the
Yes,
story.
yes, this is-
I can assume. And so he was in a vegetative state. They were telling your mother like maybe the best decision would be to pull the plug, and then at that point, you know, obviously you said you could talk to him later. It's not what
Yes.
she decided to do.
That is correct. So my mom had a vision, and that vision included basically in her mind's eye, she saw a cell multiplying and dividing. And then she received a word from the Lord, and he said basically, if you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. And that there's a battle coming, and that he's basically, the gist of it was that he's not finished yet. And so my mom said, ain't gonna happen. And they said, you lady, you're crazy. You ought to go to the 5th floor. That's the psych department, you know, because like she was like, hey, bring clothes, because she's expecting him to just pop out of bed, you know, I mean, miraculous recovery. And shortly after that, I mean, within the next day, he started to breathe above a ventilator, started to respond to pain. Like I said, his brainwave activity was zero.
It's unbelievable.
No response to pain on the deep pain test, like needles under the toenails, ice water in the ears. I mean,
Yeah.
and he was 43 years old.
That's so
Healthy,
young.
hardworking iron worker. I mean, the guy's awesome. I'm just gonna say that. My dad's dope. I mean,
Sounds like a certified badass.
oh,
Like,
100%.
unbelievable.
That's crazy that it just zoop, like just back to life like
Yeah.
that. That's
Well, and so
insane.
it was a longer process, obviously. To this day, he has all his memories, all his faculties.
Wow.
He has some physical detriments, but he's all there, and he works his butt off in every aspect of life. I mean, the other day we were up there making maple syrup. You know, he's out there on the 4-wheeler, out there on the skidder, out there cutting wood. I mean, the dude is just there's no give in him, you know? And
Yeah,
it's a fantastic, I mean, the whole story would take probably hours and hours to go
So
through.
inspirational.
But it is, absolutely, because he was officially, when we took him home from the hospital, his official prognosis on discharge is persistent vegetative state will remain so for rest of natural life. And within a few months, he was back in a different hospital. They were like, how is this vegetable talking and acknowledging us?
This ain't Veggie Tales, dude.
Yeah, right. Bob the tomato, that'd be me. I was like, but so yes, so he there was quite a miraculous recovery. His brain literally regrew. There's MRI scans showing this,
Wow.
and God came through for our family. And so,
Wow.
with that being said, I mean that was kind of the thing. When I called my dad, I was like, "Hey, I don't know how they got my number. I'm guessing he gave it to them." But the business agent called me, and I was, like I said, working at a temp agency and looking for work. And I was like, all right, this is perfect. This is right up me alley. I want to start a family. And this is something that, you know, you got the good pay, you got the benefits. Like, that's the big thing is the insurance coverage.
Yeah.
the-
Mhm. Stability.
I mean, this, right, exactly.
Especially
Pension
me
and
being
stuff.
a 25-year-old, almost 26, working for a small business with no health benefits. Those benefits are important.
Oh, yeah. I was
time.
25 when I started
Sure.
ironworking.
Right when the clock was hitting.
Yep. It was like, I want to have kids. And
Yeah.
I've been married for a couple of years at that point, and just timing wise worked out. There was a lot of work going on, the sand mines in Wisconsin, and so I got a hold of the hall and went and did the boot camp. And by the end of that week, I was on a job.
So you're 25. So you're not a young buck, but you're not old and you're new to the trade. You get called to your first real job after boot camp. Walk me through your first day.
My first day, good sir, was on a rebar job. So rebar is probably the most physically demanding part of the trade. And you're bent over backward, you're tying wire with a pair of pliers. My very first day, I get on the job site. I'm early. I'm not stupid. I got my boots on. I'm all set to go. Got my size 15 double E Shout out Thorogood. I don't know.
13
You can cut that if you need. But I get out there, look around, and I say, just given an address, I didn't even have a smartphone at the time, so I'd printed off the MapQuest thing.
Oh, dang, dude.
So yeah, in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, I was like, I think I'm in the right. Well, there's a crane here, and get up to this guy, Jody, his name is, and he's about this tall.
Shout out Short King.
Yes, indeed. And he's like, "Rawr," just very gruff, and I was like, well, I've tied rebar before, so I'll get the hang of this. But the first thing he did was tore the spring out of my pliers. So, you ever seen the pliers? You got that little spring in there? Yeah, he rips it right out and says, you don't need that. It's like, I should be the judge of that. I don't know. I mean,
It's like, all right.
but yes, that was started tying rods. So it was just
So you got thrown right in the ringer.
Yeah,
Then everything else you're learning, you're like, this shit's fucking easy.
It was
man.
just you and Jody?
It was me and Jody for the first week, and then there was
wow.
other guys coming in as well. So I mean, we were kind of the first part.
That would be the exact opposite of what I
that.
thought it'd be, like a bustling, beam swinging.
Yeah, we were getting there
probably-
early though. That was it's basically the rebar is the foundation is all poured with rebar.
That's the great
And
great
then-
learning experience for like a
Yeah.
newcomer too, from the ground up.
Yep, and I was able to work. So we were working 8-hour shifts there, and then later on that job site, the structural guys were coming in, putting in the beams and the columns and the decking, and they were working 10s. So I was able to do 8 hours of rebar and then 2 hours of structural. So I was kind of being able to get a little bit more rounded.
Nice.
Because that's one thing that'll happen a lot is apprentices will tend to find some spot and stay there. And oftentimes it is because the old guys don't want to do it. They'll throw them into the rebar patch.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's very physically demanding. I mean, my handshakes were politician worthy, okay? I mean,
Thanks to Jody
I had
pulling
the
that
grip,
spring out.
Yeah, I had to heat up my pliers and bend it backwards. I'm a lefty, so everything is. I will say this. So in the first day, I'm making these ties, right? We're tying the steel together. He comes up and he's checking my ties. Well, he's right-handed. He turns them opposite. So he's loosening my ties as he's going to check him. He's like, hey, bag tie, get over here. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, you can't tie like this. You're going to run you off, It's like, you're loosening my ties. He's like, lefty. And there's a few more choice words in there. But so I kind of, in a way, was kind of thrown into that, the most difficult part of it. And again, coming from I hadn't worked outside like hard ever. I mean, I was outdoorsy, bigger guy. I mean, at probably 300 pounds or so at the time. And, so being outside in the summer heat was a challenge, you know,
Especially going from your temp job and
Yeah.
then being thrown to the wolves like that.
Yep. It's like coconut water was my friend. I mean,
Oh, dude, big time.
But
Huge.
yeah, hands cramping up. You're sitting there like this at night, and you can't open your fingers, and you start dreaming about it. But I was on that job for about make a liar out of me, a couple of months at least. And when I got my first layoff, I was like, just like, dude, what did I do wrong? Like, why are you laying me off?
Yeah.
I was like, what am I gonna do? I don't have a job anymore. And like, call the hall, dude. It's like they're very, I was thinking like, man, I can't pay my bills. What am I gonna do?
Right.
Just
Yeah.
call the hall. I called the hall, and the next day I had a different job at a different company.
Nice.
That is the beauty of the union.
Yes,
for sure.
absolutely. Having that kind of security, because if you can show yourself as a good worker, somebody who shows up on time, somebody who works hard and tries to learn. That's the big thing with like an apprentice.
Effort's
Keep your mouth
huge.
shut
Yep.
and keep your belt on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, dude. Oh my God. Yes. How many times I tell new guys no, you're on the clock, dude. Like you're here today. Thank you for bringing that up. That's
Put
a
your
huge
phone
point.
down.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's huge.
Do you have a lot of people coming through that just don't cut it? Where it's like, not like you don't like them, but where they come in for a few days and then you never see them again. Do you run into that a
I
lot?
imagine the union
Yeah.
filters out a lot of those.
There's,
so.
the union will give everybody a fair shake. And that's kind of the thing, sometimes the critique is, well, wow, union's bad. I get the same pay that this guy does, and he just, slacks around all day. It's like, well, that guy's not going to be working very long.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
That reputation gets out there, and then
Yeah.
companies will be like, hey, I need 30 guys. And they'll be like, okay, we got Bob, John, Sally, Beth, Jody. Jody's good. Brian. We'll get Brian. No, I don't want Brian. And companies will have different,
Yeah.
they have that.
Word goes
exactly,
around.
it
Yeah.
does. And so getting into that, establishing yourself as a good worker is paramount, I would say, especially in like the union thing. But our class, there was 120, and I think 70 of us graduated. So I mean,
That's not a
the
bad-
attrition rate's not terrible, but
Yeah.
if you're not gonna, if you're only there because like, oh, you're gonna make this much money, oh, go definitely show up. You won't make that much money if you don't actually
Right.
show up.
You got to be thinking long term for
Yeah.
sure.
An effort to like actually caring to learn and learning the process and like more about it. That's like huge too.
Well, and that's the thing. So anybody that's wanting to get into the trades, specifically like ironworkers, because I can speak from experience, find that niche that you can do well. Maybe it is tying rebar, maybe it's welding, maybe it's doing layout. In my case, like layout was my thing, and it was just a
I like
weird
layout.
thing. Like this class, we were taking the class, and I'm tying rebar during the day. I'm throwing in bolts. I'm slapping out decking. I'm not doing the layout side of things because we ain't gonna let the apprentice look at the prints.
That's something you kind of work your way up to.
Yeah. But then in the class, I was like, figured a couple of things out. And honestly, all I did was figure out that the total station had a laser on it, and you could turn the laser on and it would point to where you had to do the layout points at. And so I was able to lay out like 10 points to everyone else's 2 or 3. And that caught the attention of one of the instructors, and he was like, hey, whenever you're laid off, you're coming to work for us.
Nice.
And so that's kind of how I got into that particular.
That's great advice for an up and come, because we have a lot of young listeners that are looking to find a trade that they want to get into, and that just a way to be a little bit different, get ahead of your class. Like that's great advice, and it leads me right into my next question. One thing that we like to ask our guests, especially when they're working in a job that requires an apprenticeship. For these guys that are getting out of high school looking for a job, what can a first-year apprentice expect to make on an hourly rate?
For the ironworkers, first-year apprentice, somewhere in the $28, $29 an hour range on the check. That's not including benefits. All that stuff is, in addition to. But you get full benefits when you start. I think insurance starts like 30 or 60 days. You got to have a certain amount of hours built up. But all the benefits are full. And then your hourly increases every 6 months as you complete your class and so forth, and as you're getting more hours working. So that would be, it's great money for, like you said, right out of high school. I mean, you can hardly beat it. Yeah, it's a lot of hard work. Yeah, you got to usually travel a little bit, but you can't find a better community, I don't think.
Especially like you were saying, with there just not being that many, you just get to know the boys. You got to travel over to South Dakota. Well, hey, I bet Jerry will be there. You kind of make those connections along the way.
Yes, absolutely. And then you get to the point, once you're established, you can be like, hey, I ain't going to work with Bob over here. I was like, I will go out here. I will work out of town with Corey. Like that's my guy. Corey Reiser's the kind of layout king. Like the guy is stupid smart. And he kind of took me under his wing about 4 years ago, and he's been teaching me stuff and just showing me different tricks of the trade and ways to, approach issues. And we've traveled out of town probably the past couple of years now. And it's like, yeah, if Corey's going, I guess I can go. I was like, hey, babe. My wife, she's like, you kind of married to this guy almost. I was like, yeah,
Your work
kind of. I
husband.
mean,
That's huge too. The tips and tricks.
Oh, yeah.
And especially, you're constantly first starting out, it sounds like you're like, constantly being around newer people until you like get settled in and established with the community. And it's like learning,
yeah.
everyone does it a little differently and everyone has like little tips and tricks. And then also I like how you mentioned the problems too, because that's a huge thing too. Is like a good chunk of your time in the trades is going towards, okay, how do we fix this? Or like, how do we negate this from happening in the future? And that's like a huge overlooked over part of the industry. Yeah.
Well, back to your comment about how, learning things. And if you ask 50 ironworkers how to do something, you'll get 50 different responses. Now, 45 of them will work. You just got to figure out which one of those works best for you and do it. 5 of them are going to be absolute garbage, and you need to throw it out the window because they just, they had a little too much to drink that day. But I will say, in my experience, the way that in the ironworkers, the journeymen help out the apprentices is really, really nice. Like specifically in 512, right? People are people. Some are jack offs.
that works. Yeah,
that'll work. Some people are just, they're not good people. And there's been, in my experience, a lot of these older ironworkers are willing to teach if you're willing to listen. If you put your phone down, if you pay attention, they'll show you how to do things right. Like you said, I have yet to come across a job site that I haven't had problems with. And I'm like doing layout, and it's like, okay, this is supposed to be this, and it's not. According to the prints, we're this, and then, oh, well,
Yeah, that's another thing, too, is like sometimes the problems aren't even, or like, I mean, not sometimes, like the problems aren't even responsible like from you. Usually it's like, whether it's some kind of miscommunication between different plans, the architect versus engineer, or the material, or like all sorts like that. Normally, granted too, it might be different on a union site, bigger commercial projects, but I noticed that a lot.
It's not.
Okay, cool.
It's an industry problem.
Well, especially in your industry where there's so many different people that have factors on jobs that can slow it up and cause issues. I mean, there's a lot of, especially like, so I do business management on such a small scale. And if I don't do my job completely correct, it screws everybody on the crew. Because if you're a laborer, you don't get to work that day. If you're the owner, you got fucked. Like, it's like, it's such a small scale, but being like a project manager for a huge skyscraper, I can't even imagine doing that type of work.
Especially like the trades that come after you are a big thing too. So it's like, yes, you can if you do your job and you do it correctly, great. But then also they're like little things, like, I mean, I'm approaching it from like the standpoint of like building a like residential house. Like as a framer, it's like, I don't want to piss off the sheetrock guys, or I don't want to accidentally drill an anchor bolt through the fucking plumber lines or something like that, which is awesome when that
Sounds
happens.
like you're speaking from experience.
What? No. Jody? What? No. No, it was, just like being aware of the following steps after you guys are packed up and out of there, and then making it easier for the next handful of trades or whatever.
Yeah, that would be something that a lot of people, when they start pushing, you get companies and trades on top of each other. So it's like, hey, we got to get in here, but the fireproofer's got to come in here first, and then the fireproofer sprays and stuff on our stuff, and now we got to get that cleaned off, and we can't do this, or they've laid it, covered over our layout lines. Like from my experience, it's like, man, I don't know how many times I've had to redo the same thing, and it's like, if you had to take 1 second just to figure, to pause and think of somebody else. I will say this: engineers, architects should all be required to go into the field at some point during their schooling.
Yes.
I'm sorry. You got to get out there. Oh, this looks really good on paper. And hey, it really does. Have you tried putting it together? Have you tried putting it? I think that should be
mandatory. Federal law.
Yes. When I am the world dictator, I will make that mandatory.
Yes. That's funny that you say that, because one of our biggest questions that we ask on this series is if there's any other trades or any other people involved in blue collar that you want to call out that just annoy you the most. And I I'm getting the feeling that the architects and the engineers are definitely at the top of that list, which is a very common answer on here.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, Sparkies ain't too far behind, but you need Sparky, I mean, the wood ticks too. Y'all got your place.
Scabs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's the rivalry between trades is it's always fun,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
some people you can take it too far, but in general, I mean, I've had great experiences working with every trade that we've come across, because at the end of the day, you're all here to get the job done,
Right.
and the more cohesively you can do that, the better off everybody's gonna be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it kind of goes along with it. I think it's the industry standard. It's like you gotta give them a little shit,
Oh yeah,
especially when they deserve it. Like, yeah, you gotta dish out a little bit.
Well, so one thing I'm just dying to get into is the flutes, because we have Flute Jesus himself here. If you didn't listen to the intro, you need to go back and listen. And I want to tie up the Ironworker and move into the flutes. And my last question that has to do with it is, with you being an Ironworker, it's a pretty tough trade. There's a lot of hard men in that trade, and a lot of times creatives and blue collar guys don't always mix well together. And a lot of your videos that you make are you playing the flute on these jobs at these buildings. Is it tough for you to be yourself, I guess, around these guys? Is it something that you're insecure about, or you just could not care less? Like, is it ever an issue, I guess, to break it down?
Oh, is it ever an issue for, I would say, not really. Initially, and sometimes people knew that I haven't played or worked around, will be like, that's really messed up, or, yeah, you gotta go and do this, or something, it's like,
Yeah.
my favorite is, hey, can you sing tenor? Well, yeah, I guess I can. Well, why don't you sing 10 or 15 miles from here then?
I was like, dang, what's the punchline gonna be?
Yeah, but I've kind of established myself as a solid worker and somebody who knows what he's doing and talking about. And I do that before I'll bring out the flutes.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a new site or new people, whatever, I'm not just going to walk in.
Right. Yeah.
Peter Piper comes in.
Right. I mean, I've established this sort of, I'll bash your head in with the sleeper bar if I have to, but I'll also play you a nice song and put you to sleep at lunch.
Do you get fired up on the job? Because I've only known you for an hour and a half, but I cannot see you get upset.
I would say maybe three times.
So when it happens,
Bash somebody's head in 3-4 times.
Well, allegedly.
so when you get upset,
There's no evidence.
people know, like, oh, this don't happen often. It's time to just
Yeah.
sit back for a second.
Yeah, sometimes I gotta let the dogs bark.
They're
dude.
like, "Is you okay? Do you need a day off or something?" I mean, you seem you're pretty quiet. I don't know. It's been just to the point where I can walk in and I make friends with just about everybody.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of people where it's been, I had to raise my, like I said, if I had to raise my voice probably 3 or 4 times. And I'm even keeled. My mindset is, if I gotta kill you, is it worth me going to prison over and not seeing my
mindset.
kids? It ain't worth it.
The answer-
My manhood is not insecure to the point where I have to prove myself or whatever. It's like, hey, I love playing flutes and I love ironworking. And guess what? When it's break time or before work or after work, I'll bust out the flute and play. When it's time to work, I'll work. And people tend to respect that, I should say, for the most part.
Well, especially if you pull out like that 5-foot flute you have. It's hard. I mean, how can you not see that? And I gotta hear someone play that.
especially,
What
especially
is that?
the acoustic environment too, and what
Oh,
you're
yeah.
playing is like that's got to be like surreal.
Haunt the stairwells.
Yeah.
So when you started making your content up on these buildings and just on the job sites, when you had your first video go viral, was that kind of like, hey, people actually like this? This is something I could keep doing. What was the thought process behind it?
So the thought process behind me playing my first video, and specifically, I was working at a 30-story tower in Minneapolis and walked in whistling, and I heard the echo in this big, giant, it was like a mechanical floor. And I had a flute that I had at home for a while and had never really played publicly with that. And I bet you that would sound awesome here. So I brought it with me to work, set it up on the top of the windowsill, and just hit record and played what came to my heart. Just an improv piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't, people like, oh, what song is that? I don't know.
I didn't name it yet.
I was like, I got to write down all the parts for it. I don't even remember why. I had just gotten Reddit, and I was like, why not? Oh, I thought it was cool. I was like, I'll throw it on there. And it got to the front page, and started getting calls not calls, messages, some less appropriate than others.
Especially on Reddit.
Yeah.
Yes. There are some strange people out
Well,
there.
that's when he said he found you on Reddit. I'm like, what kind of guy are we dealing with here?
Yeah, there's a certain image attached to a Redditor, the stereotypical Redditor, but
It's a red beard, not a neck beard. Okay, okay.
this is the good example. This is in the good example category,
Right.
On how it does do positive, positive things.
Yeah. So out of that positive, there was one message that I got on Reddit that some lady said, "Hey, I was planning to kill myself tonight, and I saw this video, and this music just hit me different. It hit me deep in my soul, and I can't go through with it. And thank you for putting this out there."
That's heavy.
Wow.
Dude.
And I still get shivers.
And
I mean,
especially like that wasn't like a piece like that you memorize, or it was just like literally spontaneous.
okay, God, whatever
Yeah.
you got,
Yeah.
let's let it flow from my
Full
fingers
conduit.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that, all the things that had to align for that person to
Right.
hear that piece of music at that time, to me was very much a sort of confirmation from God that I gave you these gifts for a reason. You need to share them with people.
So now you almost feel like somewhat obligated. Is that what I kind of?
Yeah.
Because I imagine I would
driven.
feel so. Yeah,
Almost
yeah.
in a way. Like, I mean, I don't necessarily obligated has
kinda
a negative connotation,
Yep.
but I would just had that driven desire to help people in general. And I mean, I've always had a very helpful sort of mentality. I'm surprised I didn't end up as a,
EMT
somewhere.
or something.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't EMT, so
Well,
I did that too.
yeah.
A jack of all trades.
That's somebody I want on
master of
site.
none. Hey, I've used it a few times on site. I mean,
I bet,
it's
dude.
been some
Lots of
but good. I guess I've always wanted to find, acquire information, learn something new every day.
yeah.
If that's like a key takeaway, I would say is always try to find something new to learn.
Yeah,
because
not be stagnant.
knowledge is power.
Right.
They
For
don't,
sure.
they don't measure strength in kips for no reason, right? That was kilonewtons or whatever but yeah, so getting back to that, where I don't even remember where I was, but basically at that point I was like, I need to
And that was right out of the
embrace this.
gate.
That was
with
right out of the gate.
The first viral video.
10 million views plus, not on my platform because I didn't have a platform, but you know, I think back now, I'm like,
Wow.
boy, wouldn't I like those monetized videos at that point?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah, right out of the gate, it was.
So then are you like, okay, now I should probably, pursue this a little bit more seriously. And now it's like, what were your next steps after that? Like, did you
Turned my phone on silent.
good call.
There was a lot of notifications. But yeah, no, I was like, man, I got to figure out how to do this more often and keep it entertaining, and also kind of let the passion that I have kind of flow through and into that and utilize these unique spaces and things. And so that was, next steps was start making more videos and start a YouTube channel and DistroKid, let's get on Spotify and YouTube Music and all that stuff. So it's been a slow progression the past, and this was 4 years ago, almost 5.
Wow.
when my first video went. So I've
It's a long time coming, dude.
yeah.
So fast forward from your first video a little bit to when you applied and got accepted into Second Chance, the show on HBO. How much time between you creating videos and then getting on the show was there? Were you at it making videos for a couple years before the show got going?
Yes, so I was making videos for about 3-4 years before the show, and I was actually working in South Dakota, and the audition tape that I submitted was me playing one of my flutes in the hotel pool area because of the acoustics,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I will do a lot of strange things for acoustics. I'm just saying. Anybody know where I can find the the deep underground Minneapolis,
Cave,
not
the
get
cave
killed,
system?
but also get some dope, scenes.
I know a guy.
So you walk into rooms,
talk.
yeah, I have this weird thing where I go anywhere, I look at their chimney, and if I see a chimney that's in bad condition, it's like gets me. I'm like, oh hell yeah, they need repair. Whereas you walk in a room, you sense the acoustics, you're like, oh man, I want to play in here.
First thing I look at is where's the exits, and
Hey.
I'm call me strange. I am strange, and I accept that, embrace it, because my strange is
Dude,
cool.
bro, he's a CIA agent. I knew it.
We don't use the 3-letter agencies.
Yo, the agency. Correct me. The agency.
Nobody tell that guy. Strange fire.
So you send your audition tape in, and you get accepted into the show. I can only assume you've never done any sort of show like this. What is that process like? Like, I'm sure everything's spinning. Now you got a blue collar. I'm sure you're like, oh my God, I have to miss work. Like, I'm sure that was a big deal.
Yes. So when I got the call and I got that I was confirmed on the show, they were like, okay, we need you down here in Kansas City. And it could be one day, it could be 2 weeks. Like, well, great. That's going to be, I'm going to call my boss and say, hey, I need to be gone for either a day or 2 weeks. And, in a way, fortunately, I was at a position where I could kind of, and that's something with the trades as well, is you get paid good when you work, and you don't get paid when you don't. We don't have PTO. We don't have stuff like that. I had been able to establish myself in the company to the point where if I didn't show up for 2 weeks because I had something else going on or a vacation or whatever, hey, that's fine. We got a spot for you when you come
Nice.
back.
Yeah,
So I've
yeah.
been really blessed. in
Whereas
that.
if you're one of the newer guys on site, they probably would laugh
Like,
at
well, oh, you take 2 weeks off? Okay, fine. We'll go get somebody else from the hall, and
Right.
you don't have a job when you get back.
Mhm.
Because I couldn't say anything either. Like, they're like super secret, hush hush. Here's the contract, and if you say anything about the show before we film and it airs,
Oh, really?
there's millions of dollars.
So
in
when you had to-
penalties and fines,
When you had to
Yeah.
pitch it to your boss, you had to be like, "Hey,
It's
I
like,
can't tell you."
I need 2 weeks off, potentially. I might be back on Monday, but I need 2 weeks off.
Oof.
Okay, I mean, sure, whatever. I was like,
You're like, just trust me. Just trust
I was like,
me.
it's gonna be fun.
Dude,
it's
that'd
gonna
be
be epic.
hard secret to like.
Can I get
keep,
some,
dude.
Egan swag or something?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, make
Like-
it worth your while. Yeah.
Well, and then I kind of went a little dark on my posting and stuff too, because I had to, there's different things you got to abide by, and so I'm an iron worker, right? I don't do this. I'm on a TV show. Like, what am I supposed to do? I looked at it as a 2-week vacation. So I drove down there I was in Sioux Falls at the time. I was like, it's only a 5-hour drive. I got this. Psh, I'll have my car there. I can tool around town, whatever. I get there, show up to this hotel that I've, the likes of which I've worked on but never stayed at. I was like, ooh, this is
Oh,
kind
they
of
set
cool.
you up. Okay.
Bring the
Dude, they
country
set
to the
us
city.
up, man. It was good. Like, it was a really schwanky hotel, and we had personal assistant. They call them wranglers, to basically keep track of everybody. And hey, if you need something, we'll help you here. If you we got to have you here. You need to be on this set on this time. I got to meet a bunch of really interesting people, but it was very secluded. You know, they didn't want people interacting with other
Oh, you
members.
can't mingle with your neighbor
Right,
kind of thing.
yeah, because they're like,
Okay.
oh, we don't want to have people having an unfair advantage or, you know, colluding with somebody else or showing favoritism. But there was a time I got in there, and my wife and kids, I have 2 boys, were back in Wisconsin, and I was sitting in this hotel room about to go on a stage on a theater, like a fancy stage with the lights, the whole completely foreign to anything I'd really experienced, you know, on the ironworking side. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Had you ever performed in front of people?
I have, yes. I mean, I had at that point I had played a show out in Oregon, the Flute Stock Music Festival.
That's
Oh,
cool.
nice.
Yeah, it was tons of fun. I actually ended up getting to
Sounds like
invited onto the main stage with the Grammy-winning artists like Mary Youngblood and Rona Yellowrobe, Tommy Graven, like
Dang.
That's so
Dude.
cool.
Timothy Gomez. Like these guys are like professionals, and they, you know, I was kind of rated along with them, and that was.
That's
that's
so
crazy,
cool,
dude.
man.
I, mean,
That's-
I feel like I was like, I don't know half the
Like
stuff
imposter
you know.
syndrome kind of
Exactly.
thing, yeah.
Yes. But they were very kind, very. We jammed, you know, and I
Yeah.
love just getting together and jamming. But so yes, I have played before audiences, but nothing quite like on the TV show kind of thing, because it's very different when you're running the same thing like 6, 7, 8 times, and it's like, okay, we're gonna change this a little bit, or oh, we don't like this take. Oh, there was sound on this one that we
Yo,
gotta change.
It brings a certain level of like you almost have to act a little bit too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of show like, you know, do the same cut 6, 8 times. You got to like kind of pretend to be as genuine as number one.
Right. Well, and then
Certain level.
especially when you're talking about, you know, heavy subjects, you know, like my dad's situation and the other, the lady, and how the flute side of things kind of got really started. And it's like, okay, I got to say that and have that same energy, that same emotion.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I'm tired, I'm cramping up, I got to take a drink or take a leak, you
Right,
know? It's
yeah.
like, but it kind of gave me a greater appreciation for how TV shows are made. But to get back to that day, so I'm there, I got my work gear on, right?
That's one question I had.
yes.
Who made the call on the hard hat and the high
Mwah.
vis?
Moi.
Great
I
move.
did.
That's
I was
fire, dude.
Especially that's what you're comfortable doing. You know,
Exactly.
I was hoping it was your call. It would have felt so much different if they were like, "You need to wear this."
They said, "Are you sure you want to pretend to be an ironworker on stage?" I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! I ain't pretending to be an ironworker.
That would've got me fired
I am
up.
an ironworker." Like,
Got to represent the boys out there.
yes, absolutely.
512.
The producers of the show are Chip and Joanna Gaines from the Home or Magnolia Network. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've the Fixer Upper
Mm.
show, and so he's very much construction, you know, rehabbing houses and stuff. And he was just like, dude, that is crazy. He's like, what is this? Everybody is dressed to the nines. They got their makeup and their fancy clothes and their awesome, you know, episodes of airing all their stuff. You know, like they've all got this extreme talent. And here I am with the stick on one shoulder and a bolt bag on the other, you
Nice.
know?
Dude, honestly, that's not a bad idea. Just from if you were like to pursue it, like I'm gonna win this thing. It's like because everyone wants the underdog to win.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
So
it
it's
catches
like-
your attention immediately
Yeah.
too.
We had to turn the vest inside out because of the glare of the reflective straps on the cameras. So I was like, oh, I kind of look like a dork.
That guy's faking. He's got it inside out.
Right. I can imagine that. That's not a real iron worker. He's got his vest on.
It ain't even
backwards.
dirty. What the hell?
I had to get a clean one. I will say this: they actually called the hall to get approval to air the stickers on my hard hat.
Oh, sure.
Because all that stuff has to go through
Whoa!
legal.
So they get a call. Like,
Yes.
hey,
So
you know your
the
boy. That's
president of our union,
yo.
and Barry Davies gets a call at and it was at that night. Like they didn't figure out that I was like, I'm not taking this off.
It was like an afterthought.
And I'm not covering up all my stickers. I already had to cut the company names off from, the other stickers, like for different parts. So I was like, okay, I can do that, But then, so yeah, are you a member in good standing with your hall? Yep. I pulled my phone. Okay, yep, my dues are paid. I'm good. And so, yeah, she calls the hall, and I've met Barry maybe once or twice. And she's like, do you know this ironworker, Paul Harvey? I'm so-and-so with this TV show, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, yes, absolutely. Great guy. Great ironworker. Upstanding,
Nice.
We'll give you permission to they basically had to sign off to allow 512s.
Identity or whatever.
Yeah.
Visual branding.
Yep. So that was fun. I was glad that they were able to approve that. And then I went out on stage and kind of hit them with yeah.
Were you confident walking out there?
Yes and no. The same kind of energy, if you will, where if I'm up 400 feet in the air walking on a 4-inch beam that I'm trying to take and bolt up,
Windier
yeah,
shit.
it's like
yeah.
I've faced situations, actual life or death situations. Something like this, it's a different category. It's very nerve-wracking,
Yeah.
but it's also in a way comforting because I'm in my uniform. I've got my flute.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I know that all these people are super talented and probably way more talented than I am, but I'm going to go out here and I'm going to make these people feel what I feel and what I was able to help other people feel, throughout this past few years' journey of playing these flutes. And so,
Dude, that's a good ingredient to just dilute any amount of stage fright.
oh,
It's
absolutely.
like that kind of mindset is huge, I bet.
Yeah.
Fall off the stage, will I die? No.
And plus two, you're like you said, I've been in life-threatening situations every day. It's like, this ain't really nothing.
Yeah,
So it's like having that physical threat kind of just non-existent.
Right.
Yeah, that's got to
Well,
be just
I think you said it best where it's like you've been in actual fear situations where on stage it's just nerves.
Yeah,
You don't need
right,
to fear anything. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. Because I can't even imagine. Like, I was even kind of looking at the crowd to see if it was a big crowd, and I was like, oh, I would be so nervous. And so you do your first performance, absolutely kill it. Crowd goes crazy. Judges love it. When you were told you were moving on, did you feel it coming, or were you counting yourself out?
I was counting myself out because there were some pretty talented people. Like, I was able to listen backstage, and I was like, ooh. Now, if I was a judge, I'd pick that,
Yeah.
And then when they did call my name, I was just like, there was butterflies in the stomach. Like, oh, dude, I can. Part of my head was thinking, this is awesome. Part of my head is like, I got to call the boss and tell him that I'm not coming back to work on Monday.
That is
I
blue
need more
collar
time.
right
I
there.
need more time off, man. I was like,
fucking Ronnie's gonna do the layout and just fuck everything up, dude.
like, sorry, Corey, you're stuck with the apprentice this time. Oh, but yeah, so that was pretty crazy. And actually, so I didn't have any family members, because they usually have, family or whatever backstage. Well, my brother-in-law was down doing some training in the military, only a couple hours from Kansas City. And so he was able to come up on the show.
Nice.
And kind of be there to support me and stuff. So that was really fun.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
just
cool.
to have a familiar face around.
Yeah. He cried more than I did.
Oh man, that's so awesome. So for people that are not familiar with the show, just to catch them up, the show is called Second Chance. The first season came out. It was 8 episodes. The first 6 were contestants competing to get into the final rounds. Was it 5 or 6 contestants each show?
There was, I believe, 5.
I want to say
I think
5.
It was 5.
Five
per show.
contestants
Yep.
will, just like American Idol, go on the stage. There's 3 judges out there. They'll do their thing. And then at the end, they'll pull them all out and pick a winner. And so you get picked for the winner on your episode. You're going to the finals. How many days between your episode and the final? And what are you doing in between?
So in between the finale and my winning of the episode, so my episode was filmed first, and I was able to basically sit in the hotel room and not spy on anybody else on their performances or figure out who was going to be in the finale with me until the very end. That was probably 4 or 5 days. because each episode was filmed per night. So one night they filmed one episode, the next night they filmed the next. So there was 6, I believe, 6 episodes. So 6 nights that they filmed, and so that was kind of nerve wracking too. It was like I felt pampered as all get out, you know, like here's some food, here's some per diem, here's some this, you know,
Nice.
we'll take care of you. There was filming other things in between there. But for the most part, it was just be available. If we need you, we'll give you a call.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I went peruse the city of Kansas before, They're like, okay, you can't do any jujitsu while you're here because we can't have you getting hurt because we need to film this and we get this tight schedule. So please don't do anything naughty. I was like, me? Naughty? Perish the thought. So that was quite the
man.
it was a very surreal experience. It was like a vacation, you know. I didn't have my wife or kids with me, so it was like, I'm just gonna walk around town and blow some flutes and that come across anyway.
Curious tangent. What is there to do in Kansas
Thank
City?
God the next word was
eat.
flutes after that.
The food there is really good.
Really?
There's a lot of different barbecue spots that you can hit. Like Joe's barbecue is probably my favorite. What's the other one? Stacks, another pretty decent. I mean, for as far north as Kansas City is, they got some pretty hopping barbecue.
That was gonna be my first guess. It's like I bet they got barbecue down there.
Oh
Something.
God, yes.
Yeah.
Some good.
That's good to hear.
they had
It's good
some
to hear
stuff.
that.
So if you're ever down there, it's definitely a sweet spot to check out.
because I imagine if you go outside of Kansas City, it's probably not much.
Yeah, no, not really. And I was able to find a flute circle, and so
You just call out the homing beacon, like.
Yep. So there's this flute circle in a lot of places where basically just people that are playing the flute will get together and jam. And I talked to the production. I was like, hey, if I don't tell them why I'm here or who I really am, would you mind if I went and joined this? And they're like, yeah, sure. You just, keep your mouth shut or we'll gut you. Not exactly. Okay, they didn't actually say that. That was just
We'll just take millions from you.
right. But it was a lot of fun to be able to just kind of get out there. I did a lot of walking. I was preparing. So that was in April, and in that October, I was running my first half marathon, and running may be a bit stretch of the word, but I was practicing. I was like doing a lot of walking.
Kind of getting some training in a little bit too.
Yep. That was right in the end of March Madness and stuff. So I mean, we were right in the light district, and there was Shaq was doing a DJing event, so we went to that.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, just chilling around. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
cool. And it was kind of bustling a little bit.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
stuff to do in between.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. It is kind of like a vacation. Then.
It really was. It was like a vacation. I didn't have to pay for the hotel. I mean, I was like, gee, that's
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
my family was here, but they did actually for the finale. They flew my wife and kids down,
Nice.
so that was super cool.
How old are the kiddos?
6 and 9.
Oh, sure. So they're getting to an age where you can do a lot more fun
Yes.
stuff too.
Oh yeah, we do martial arts together in Eau Claire, Kikido. It's a Korean martial art, and my oldest and I are in the same class, and my youngest has a different class that they do. So
That's so cool, dude. I bet that's like really good for the development too.
Oh yeah, just watching how they've grown and how they've kind of developed confidence. And I mean, my son will get up in front of people and read, out loud. I mean, like my oldest is more animated, like I am.
Sure.
So it's been really neat to just kind of
Definitely
see that
outgoing.
development.
Yeah.
Fear of people is definitely
Yeah.
not something that's big deal around your house, I can assume.
Not generally.
And so listening to your intro for your first episode, you talk about how you came from a very musical family and you guys would go perform at churches and nursing homes. So I'm sure, thinking now, like performing for people, for you, that's just something you grew up around.
Definitely something that came naturally to me was performing in front of other people, and be it with accents, plays, stage combat, music. It's just something that I'm very open and like, jovial.
That's a good
Is
word
that a
for
word?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can only assume, based off of the person that I know now, you weren't too crushed when you didn't get picked in the finale. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler.
But
alert.
I can assume you took the experience over the actually winning.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't just the worst thing that could have ever happened to you.
Would I have minded having $100,000, to, I don't know, get a studio, play some music somewhere,
Yeah. Was there
I
ever a
wouldn't have
point
minded.
where you're like, hey, holy shit, I might actually win this? Or did you just try not to like have that mindset?
Yeah, I really try to kind of keep that,
Yeah.
because, and that's the thing is like, even with, I've got probably, 100,000 plus subscribers throughout the different platforms. And should I be monetizing like, merch and this, that, and the other thing, like making this actually make me money? And I haven't really taken that step yet because I kind of want to make sure that my reasoning behind it is that staying that pure. Like, not to
Yeah.
say that you can't do both, but like
You didn't want it to affect the authenticity.
Right. It's like I don't want to be too, I got to make this so I can make money or whatever.
Launch a meme coin or something.
Well, I don't know if
The Paul coin or something.
the flute guy, Hard Hat Harvey.
I'm buying in, man.
Hashtag.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I've where were we on that one?
Hey, no, I was just riding along with you.
I'm
man.
gonna need that alpha brain stuff, right?
I'm smelling salts. That's just about it.
I just asked if you were crushed.
Oh, yes.
when you didn't win.
Yeah.
and-
So keeping that mentality of, I'm the experience that I'm getting here, to meet these people, to see these other places, that's super fulfilling in and of itself.
Yeah.
So that was really kind of cool. And crucial in a way too, because it could be easily like, man, focusing in on the money, and I'm not going to talk to anybody else. I'm not going to network with these people. They're just in the way of me,
Yeah.
And I think I was.
Which I
able
bet
to
some
avoid that.
I bet some characters kind of do have that mindset.
Oh, I'm
on
sure
things like
it's
that.
human nature, I mean, but it was, just a fantastic group of people. From Magnolia Networks, from Max, they were all really great to work with. Honestly, like they were, super
Good
cool.
experience
Yeah.
all around.
Yeah, it would be sitting the filming crew would be doing push-ups, and it was fun.
It's good to hear a story like this because I swear most people that's not how it went. Normally their experience, they weren't treated right or how it wasn't how they expected. But it's nice to hear a happy story about something like this.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I mean, my wife was probably more jealous of me getting to give a kiss to Martina McBride than anything else. But
Ooh, you got in trouble, dude.
well, no, she was like, she's a big fan. So it was neat.
She was wishing it was her.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. There was a few people that were, I try not to be starstruck, because people are people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I gut you with a knife, you're gonna bleed the same as I am.
Everyone takes shits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the more better way to put it.
Unless you're Kim Jong-un.
Yeah. Well,
Oh yes. Shout out.
Well, Paul, this episode is awesome, and I know the viewers are going to love it. Thank you so much for coming on the pod today. Do you have any socials you want to plug? Anything where the people can find you?
Sure. I mean, it's been an honor to be here and just hang out with you guys. I've never been on a podcast before, so this is really cool. I mean, it's like hearing my own voice.
No, we appreciate it, man. You're just like super fascinating guy, like genuinely, and very authentic, and just great to have you. Is there socials? Then if you have like any other like last and final thoughts or anything.
I think so. Socials would be Paul Harvey Flute Guy, as it sounds, on YouTube, TikTok, pretty much anywhere you can find music, Spotify, PayPal. Did I say that?
Dude, we should do an outro. We got to have an outro tune for sure.
Absolutely.
And you got to pick a flute.
And
so I'll lay 'em out
do you want to
here
give
for
us a quick rundown? Because that was one thing that myself, very curious on.
Paul Harvey Flute Guy. Anywhere online.
That's nice. Same
Subscribe.
name
That
for
sound-
everything. That's
You
so
gotta be
sweet.
on radio, man.
Yeah.
I actually was.
Part 2 coming soon.
Yeah. We can make this a thing.
They just keep coming.
These are just a few of my
Jeez.
flutes. I have more.
Are flutes a pricey thing to add into your collection? I can only assume. It looks like the craftsmanship.
Yeah, what
is
kind of wood is
amazing.
this?
So, would you care to hazard a guess which one's the most expensive?
I
Staff.
that the one on the end right there, not the super. That one's really catching my eye.
You were correct in this one. This one is the most expensive. This
Called
is
it.
made out of koa wood,
Nice, dude.
and it is an alternating aeolian drone flute. So there's holes on the back for the thumbs, and it's a key of C. This one's made by Miguel Medina of Singing Tree Flutes. I just gotta plug them because they're awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Like these guys, I mean, like look at this. This is wild and crazy how much goes into making these.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Dude.
Beautiful.
It's so deep. The sound is so deep and full.
Yeah.
Like, are there chambers in there? Like, how does it give
So
off that?
So the single ones, the single flutes are just one. It's a slow air chamber. That this piece here, they call it the sound block. It forces the air from this open chamber across.
Like a
the
choke,
depth.
kind of.
Yes, and so you can adjust that and change it.
Oh, I love it, dude.
Dude, I'm in a hobbit.
I feel like a samurai or something, dude.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Dude, I love the little insignia on it, too. That's fire.
Yeah, so
That's fire.
This one is High Spirits. They're more of a kind of a mass-produced flute, commercial, if you will. Whereas these other ones are homemade. So this one is Eugene Ewing. Actually just sent me a new flute, which I haven't played yet. I don't have it with me. But
I really like this one.
Yeah. So bright and peppy.
so this one you can see it's the drone flute. There's two separate flutes side by side. One side has the melody side, and the other one plays just that single continuous drone. And I am a sucker for drone flutes.
Oh my gosh.
So if you have one that you play or one that you make and want to send it to me, wispaulharvey@gmail.com is my Gmail email account. You can find it wherever you find Paul Harvey Flute Guy. Just saying. Or places to play. I'm always looking for places to play.
That makes so much sense with the drum. I wondered how you play the two different sounds. That is amazing, dude.
So this one is a Kenny King walking stick drone flute.
Dude.
It's got
Whoa,
the fractal burn pattern on it.
That's sick.
It's
Just the craftsmanship that
It's
goes into
wild.
these.
It doubles as you can double it as a
Yo,
walking staff or
he
hitting stick. or
makes
something.
ones with a blade in the bottom.
Yo.
I'm just saying, I haven't seen one yet. I haven't gotten one yet, but he does. He does amazing work, and this one is probably my favorite.
Like
flute.
genuine craftsmanship.
Yes.
Like shout out. It's phenomenal.
This one's definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
better with
Bravo.
Echo, right? But yeah, so no, there's just a couple of the flutes that I have.
Wow.
You can find me again anywhere with Paul Harvey, flute guy. Flute, not food. Okay, I know.
I'm sure that's a different
I
guy.
know.
I'm sure that's out there somewhere.
But yeah, so that would honestly, YouTube probably where I post the most. TikTok, Spotify. I got a couple people that follow me on Instagram. Nothing that's really, like I said, blown up per se.
Yeah.
Usually it's other platforms that take my stuff, and then it's like, well, whatever, At least it's getting out there. Right?
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
that's the thing is, somebody's gonna be blessed by it one way or another.
That's a good way to look at it.
But
Well, Paul Harvey,
I
everybody.
won't keep any more of your time.
Thank you
I
for
appreciate
coming through.
it.
It's been awesome, man. Thanks again
Like,
for
comment, subscribe on the episode. Please, this was amazing. Thank you for listening. That's it. We're out of here, boys. No Cody today. Fuck Cody. We don't even need him.
Cody, I don't even know you, but you sound like you belong on a swing stage or a bosun's chair.